Hey guys, welcome to Deepwater Legends. Thank you for tuning in. Today we have a special guest. He's all about hauling ass and catching bass. Thank you for coming on. This is professional bass fisherman Dave Miller. Welcome to the show and thank you for coming on, Dave.
Yeah, guys, thanks for having me on. I appreciate it.
No problem. We're kind of stepping out of our comfort zone. We're going with a little bit more freshwater stuff. We noticed a lot of our listeners don't have access to the coast. We want to cover everything that's applicable in the fishing industry. And we thought, what's better than reaching out to some of these pros that are on the tour and catching these fish and giving some insight into the industry and what they're doing, what's effective, what's not effective, just their thoughts. So, do you mind giving us a little bit about yourself, where you're located, what kind of boat you fish? And I know you also run charters, a little bit of info about that as well.
Yeah, sure. My name's Dave Miller. I grew up surf fishing here in Connecticut, Long Island Sound for stripers and bluefish and fluke and whatnot, and later, as time progressed in my life, I developed the love for bass fishing. And so a lot of the guys that fish now, like competitively, there's a lot of young guys out there, a lot of young blood. I'm probably in the mid range in age, I'm 42 right now. But if you asked me 10 years ago, I'd be doing a national tour, I'd be like, you're crazy. But here I am. So I got into doing tournament fishing at like a club level and then started competing in more regional tournaments and cashed a lot of checks. And last year I competed in the MLF Toyota Series and the BFLs, and I qualified for this year's MLF Invitationals. I decided not to do that, and there was a restructuring with the Bassmaster Opens pathway to the Elite Series and the Classic, and I decided to switch things up and switch back to bass. And this year I'm doing the Opens. Coming up soon, I'll be on the Chesapeake Bay in a few weeks for the next event. But in the meantime, I guide here in Connecticut. I do charters on Candlewood Lake, Lake Zor, Lake Lolanona, and Bantam Lake. Those are the four main lakes that I guide on. And yeah, I have a lot of clients, take them out, go fishing. I do a lot of outreach too with the guiding to get youth more into the sport. You see a decline here in the Northeast. I wouldn't say a decline, but you see the fishermen are older, and I want to try to you know, get more youth involved. I loved when I was a kid hopping on my bike, driving down to the pond or the ocean and going fishing. And you don't see that anymore. All these kids on the tablets and whatnot. So actually, for everybody listening, DaveMillerFishing.com, you want to book a trip and you get a discount if you bring your kid. So all kids 5 through 12 fish free. Yeah, that's what.
That's awesome. So we're really big on that as well, getting the young anglers involved because we're from the standpoint that as less and less participation comes, then it's likely that our rights to the sport that we all love get taken one by one. And we want to make sure this is around for generations to come and we get as many people involved as possible. That's the core on why we started this podcast because we see oftentimes in social media groups, you have a guy asking questions. He's a newcomer to the sport. He just wants to get some fish or get his kids on some fish, and people just drag him all over the place, or worse, give him false information. Fishing is super expensive, and we want to make the learning curve as easy as possible. And that's why we reach out to professionals like yourself and professionals from other areas, specifically so people can listen to our show, find different tips that maybe they wouldn't come across so easily on the internet and really improve their odds. You listeners, thank you so much. We really appreciate it. We're in 20 countries right now. We're in almost every state. You guys are excellent. If you have any questions about fishing or you have an idea of a guest you want to see on our show or you want to be on our show if you're a professional in the industry, reach out to us. Shoot us an email, deepwaterlegends@gmail.com. We're happy to help. If we don't know the answer, we'll reach out to one of our friends that does, and we'll get it for you. We want everybody to be enjoying this sport as much as possible, be as successful as they can in it, because no one learns alone. I didn't learn alone. Troy didn't learn alone. I'm sure you didn't. We all had great mentors and people to look up to, whether it's tying knots or what bait to use or how to locate fish. And we're able to get out there and make it happen. And we're happy to be those people to help you as well. And we're really pumped that people are listening to us all over, even people without access to salt water. And that's why we want to bring more fresh water to you guys. So We're giving back as much as possible. If there's a topic you want to hear about, if there's a person you want to hear from, reach out to me. I'll see if I can make it happen. I'm certain I probably can't get Bill Dance on here, but I'll certainly try. So, diving right into bass fishing, my favorite part of bass fishing, not being a bass fisherman, is boats really haul some major ass, man. Like, they are so fast, and that's probably the most intriguing part to me. Like, if, you've seen me in, like, a bass tournament, I'd just be the guy driving fast everywhere. What kind of boat do you drive? How fast does it go? What's it powered by? Give us a skinny on it. How skinny can you go? Any kind of stuff like that. I'm sure you have something crazy.
Yes. Currently with Phoenix boats, I run a Mercury on the back of it. I run a 920 Elite. It's a 20-foot boat, kind of a hybrid boat that they made a couple years ago, where it has the hull from one boat, one of their faster hulls, and then the cap from one of their more bigger water boats, so to speak. I really love the boat. I just got another one this past April, so been a huge fan of the ride of it. The boat can do high 70s. I actually have a tuned prop that I'm running. It's not the right prop for the boat per se, but it gives quick, fast. There is no hole shot. You're on pad as soon as you give it gas. So I cap out around like 69, 70 with a full tournament load, full live wells, maybe a passenger, whoever, cameraman. So, but that's fast enough for me. And as a fisherman, you go fishing, the water is going to be rough anyways. It always works that way with the weather. So, probably not going to be shooting 70 miles per hour across the lake anyways. Probably going to be doing 50, going through twos and threes and whatnot. But yeah, it's Mercury Pro XS 250 and yeah, Phoenix 920 Elite.
So, what, kind of draft do you have? What's, like, the skinniest water you can get that thing into?
Inches. I don't know the actual draft offhand. That's probably more of a technical question I'm not prepared for. But
So shallow, it doesn't even matter. If there's
I
water, I can float it.
I was just down in Mississippi on the Tom Bigby River back in April, and to get in one of the spots that I was fishing, I like push pulled over the sandbar. Like it's inches of water, like, and I floated right away as soon as I cleared a little bit of dirt. So
I was out with, one of my friends that has a freshwater boat here, Kevin Stone. We're actually having him on the show here in a couple weeks, and, there's a lot of logs and trees and stuff like that that are just below the surface, and he was telling me, he's like, "We gotta go fast, like, it's the only way through it." And do you ever, like, grit your teeth? Like, you're just like, "Oh my goodness." Like, how often are you losing lower units? Do you run a strap or anything like that,
um,
just in case you do hit something?
there is a cool product out there. I have no affiliation with the manufacturer or anything. I do not have one, but a lot of guys are running that. And last year, one of the guys on the Elite Series actually hit like we were fishing after a storm, and somebody's dock came loose and was floating. He apparently hit it, and from the looks of it, the way he hit it, just flying across the lake, it could have possibly flipped back into the boat, and the product kept the motor from flipping up, so could potentially saved his life. I do not have one of those, and I'm planning on getting one. And guys that do run in skinny water like that, or well, not even in his case, he was in deep water and he hit something that was just floating just below the surface. But it definitely a product that I would recommend for people to get running an outboard. As far as gritting my teeth, not really, because like when I go to a new fishery and I take my time getting around, like idling. I do a lot of idling and scanning with the sonar, with the side imaging and whatnot, especially in those type of areas. Kind of want to learn the lay of the land, so to speak. Then I'll have a trail and I'll drop breadcrumbs on my graphs. So when I come tournament day, when I do run back into an area or a pocket or something, I already have it mapped out. I already know the coast is clear. I'm sure there's probably stuff I miss, but I'm pretty thorough with the exploration prior to the tournament. And but there are times like there's stuff floating, and there's I've bumped stuff numerous times. Like you don't even realize there was anything there. Like nobody would have saw it, and it could have just been floating debris. Especially on the river systems. When I fish, like here in Connecticut, we have the Connecticut River. There's a lot of local derbs on that. When there's high water from like flooding, especially like the flooding up in Massachusetts, if they get hit, like a week later down here is like treacherous. All that high water, all that brush starts coming into the main channel. So running that is disastrous. And then the whole like DMV area with the Chesapeake Bay, the Potomac, James River, those places get real sketchy real fast when there's a lot of floating stuff. So I mean, drive smart. You don't have to. I've banged up a lower unit once, but I've never lost one. I know people that have. I think if you just play it smart, when you're out there, it's so easy to get in these things and just go wide open throttle right out the gate. But I don't know. Maybe it's my age. Maybe
Our
20
friend,
me.
Captain Jimmy lost 2 lower units in 1 season a couple years ago, because if you ain't first, you're last.
Yeah,
Shout out to you, Captain Jimmy. Hopefully, you're having an excellent season up there in Homer, Alaska at Homer Halibut Hunters. Trade in his bass fishing gear for some larger stuff to go pound some halibut up there. So, how big of a game changer do you think forward facing sonar is? How do you adapt to it? And what kind are you using?
so this topic has been beaten to death in our world, the bass world.
Explain it to people that may never have heard it.
So
So in
that's
offshore fishing, the only thing similar we have is a OmniScan, and they're like $100,000. I know it's a really big topic right now in big tournaments like the White Marlin Open, where you have big boats that have it versus small boats that may not have it. In the bass industry, you guys have forward-facing sonar. We're not saying we're against it. We want to use everything we can to get the edge. Like, I mean, if they would let you guys use live bait, I'd be super pro. I don't care. Use the live bait and bobbers. Whatever catches the most fish, I'm there for the show. I want to see the biggest fish in the lake. I don't care if a guy catches it on a rubber worm or a live minnow or anything like that.
yeah.
But what's the skinny on forward facing sonar? What kind have you found to be the best? And like, how do you utilize it to make sure your day's productive?
So forward facing sonar, the controversy is people think it's cheating. You still have to catch the fish. Now, it got to a point where people would have like up to five transducers on their boat at once, like two on the jack plate so they could idle and see the live bait going out to the side. And instead of side skinning, you're essentially side skinning FFS out the sides. And then you'd have two or three, maybe you have one at the helm, and then two or three up at the two on the trolling motor, and then one separate. So you can have down imaging, a scout mode or perspective mode, depending on the brand you're running, and then you have your traditional forward facing. MLF at one point last year sent out like a survey basically asking us what we thought, like what should there be restrictions, should there not, should we ban it? Because there was a huge call to get it banned. And I was kind of like in the thing of, well, you know what? I don't want to see anything banned, but you can't use aluminum bats in baseball. They use wooden bats. So there maybe like some type of restriction or like a handicap regulation. I'd be with that. And sure as
See,
hell.
I think I'm from like the opposite scope. Like, if I'm gonna watch professional baseball, I want the Mark McGuire. Juice it up, double juice it up. I don't care. No drug tests in professional sports. Let's see the best of the best. Like, if forward facing sonar is the way to go, put as many as you want on there. Put an Omni scan on a bass boat. I don't care. I want to see guys go out there and just hammer these fish, however it happens. Like, I mean, it may just be the saltwater angler in me that just wants
Yeah.
to see the biggest, baddest thing come to the boat. But yeah, it's kind of costly and stuff. But when you get to the elite professional bass level, like, it's fair to say that everyone's kind of on a level playing ground. It's not like, hey, this John boat's against like this Phoenix. Like, it's fair to say everyone's got the boat, everyone's got the gear, and that it's reasonable to say, like, run what you brung, man. Like, bring whatever you got. Like, make it drag racing. Like, put a 400 on the back of that boat. Let's make this something that people want to watch and really get it out there. Maybe we need a whole nother set of bass tournaments where it's like completely open. You want live scope, you can have it. You want a 500 horsepower motor on the back of that boat, bring it. You want to run a 39-foot center console, do this, go ahead. Like, we just want the best, the biggest, the baddest thing. I
Yeah. No, like my thing was with the restriction, like have some type of restriction. Bass did that. They decided to all right, everybody's allowed one transducer and it has to be mounted to your trolling motor. And then NPFL, there's a third organization that has grown significantly. They banned it, and so you can't use it. And then MLF, they took a route where it's like you could use it on day one, but you can't use it on day two, so forth, so on. So everybody kind of like listened to their group per se, like whoever for each organization who what the group of the anglers wanted. That's kind of where it went. But then there was like also like a lot of discussion. I don't know all the facts on. I don't have the numbers in front of me or whatever, but there studies were done that showed that since the introduction of FFS, that it did significantly impact the fisheries. And it's a little bit different with the ocean where you got trillions and trillions of fish versus a lake that may only have 10,000 fish or 10,000 bass in this case, or, or maybe 20,000. And they come up with these numbers from doing the shock tests. They shock them up, which, still, hazy number, whatever they have. If they shock them and when it's in the middle of the summer and that only goes down to 10 feet, but all the fish are in 30 feet, you're not getting an accurate number. But anyhow, to the original question, I use FFS. Like I can't sit there and ping a minnow on a fish, like and just chase a fish around, going left and right, and keep casting to the same fish. It doesn't work for me. I'm like too, I don't know, ADHD or OCD or whatever you call it, like where I want to constantly be doing something and to just sit there and like try to chase a fish is doesn't work for me. What I like to use it for is to find structure, whether it be a weed line or a rock pile. Like, okay, boom, there's the boulder. I can make a precision cast to that boulder if there's fish sitting on it, or I can use it to be like, okay, I don't see anything. Okay, time to pick up the trolling motor and leave and go to another spot. So I kind of use it more as just another tool, another piece of kit. And it works really well for me. I currently run the Lowrance Active Target 2, running on an HDS Pro. I have no affiliation with Lowrance. I've just been running Lowrance my entirety of bass fishing and owning a boat.
You heard that, Lawrence. This is your man.
Yeah, shout out Lowrance and the folks over there. They make a great product, and that's, I had a, you know, I've dabbled with other brands. I just, I'm comfortable. And here's another thing too is like if I was to switch brands to another or switch units to another brand, um there'd be a learning curve, and I'm in a position where I don't have time to learn. I have to go out there and catch fish like now. And another thing is knowing your equipment inside and out. If I have a problem on the water, I've rigged everything myself. I know how everything's wired. I know all the settings. If I have an issue on the water, it's tournament day or the night before a tournament or something, 99% chance that I'm going to be able to troubleshoot it right then and there and be up and running the next day. Even having like a spare unit or something or borrowing a unit, I can implement it into my system and have it up and running, no problems, exactly with all the settings exactly the way I want them on the fly. And I think that's a big thing that, you know, people may take for granted. I see issues like I have a buddy, he runs like basically the big three. He runs Lowrance, Humminbird, and Garmin all on his boat. He has 5 graphs, and it's a networking nightmare. Like he called me, asking me questions. I'm like, bro, I don't know how to help you out. So best of luck, but fishing against you tomorrow.
So how far away can you actually locate a fish, like, with, forward-facing sonar?
I have mine set to 80 feet. There's some settings you can do to like ping out to like 120, 130. Yeah, I mean, it goes much farther, but I feel like in that 80-foot range, like, because it's really, I'm looking at 50 to 60. But I want the screen space I want the fish to be a certain way. So I know if I look down, I just glance at the screen real quick. And I know for the viewers at home, like say this was the screen, I'm looking from here out this way. If I see a dot over here, I know exactly like just from a quick glance, like how far to cast. So I'm just like accustomed to it being a certain setting, or a certain distance. And that just helps me. I mean, there are situations if I'm in a super skinny water, I may, I'm in 3 feet. That thing works really good in shallow water too. And a lot of guys just opt out of using it in shallow water. But if it's underwater, because sometimes you may be in skinny water, you have to raise your trolling motor up and then transducers out of the water because you have the trolling motor so high. But if your transducer is submerged, you may want to set to like 30, 40 feet out and then change the depth to, 10 or something. And you could scope a fish in 3 feet of water and, you know, 25 feet from the boat. Another
Now,
cool
can you tell size of fish?
kind of, I'm at the point where I've used it enough where I'm confident I could pull up on on a spot and tell the species of the fish just by the way they're stacked or they're schooled up or the way they're roaming or the way they react to the bait. Because like places like Lake Champlain, there's a lot of drum and they give a really different return than bass. Even smallmouth and largemouth give a different return, believe it or not. So I think it's the density and because they one may move more than the other. I don't know what it is, but I can pull up on an area and be like, okay, that's perch, that's bluegill, those are crappie. As far as bait fish, you're just looking at a cloud essentially on the screen. It's harder to tell, but you could also kind of tell the size of the bait. If it's 8-inch smelt versus threadfin shad, they're 2 inches long. It's a different type of bait, and that can also help you out in the tournament situation. If they're feeding on smelt versus something else, then you can save time by looking if you're looking for different clouds of bait and looking for suspended fish or fish chasing them. You could pick those apart quicker.
Now, is there a particular kind of bait that you throw when you're using forward-facing sonar, or is it based on what the fish are eating that time of year and where they're suspended in the water?
As odd as this may sound, there's guys that will be like, "Oh, I only use this minnow, this type of jig head, yada yada." I don't think it really matters. I think it's like honestly, to me, everything regarding bass fishing, there's like a lot of confidence built into what you're throwing. I keep things like really simple, like especially with color choices. And if they're eating a minnow, they're eating a minnow. Like you just throw one on, like whatever you have, whatever you want to use, they're gonna the 99.9% chance they're going to eat it. If they don't, they weren't never going to eat anything you threw at them. And you'll find that too, especially with smallmouth. You pull up on a spot, you could cast to the same fish 1,000 times and it will not eat. But you pull up to another spot, you get bit on the first cast, then you get bit on the second cast, then you get bit on the third cast, and then they may scatter a little bit because three of their friends are missing. But you can know very quickly whether or not they're going to eat. And I don't really think it's a matter of the bait, to be honest. And there's times where I've thrown a jig bait, or a crayfish, like something to imitate a crayfish. And I've pinged that out like 60 feet from the boat and worked it like a minnow and caught a suspended fish. I don't think it really makes a difference.
That's awesome. So what is the biggest largemouth bass you've ever caught?
Biggest was actually from here in Connecticut. It was an 813. And I caught him on a regular old Berkeley power worm.
That's awesome. So what is your favorite lake to fish? So I know that you travel all over doing the BASS tournaments and MLF prior to this. What has been your favorite lake to fish and why?
I see. I love fishing tidal fisheries because it's like more power fishing. And like I said before, I like to like constantly be doing something. And when you're power fishing, you're like just a robot. 3,000, 4,000 casts in an 8 hour day, and it's like you're just constantly doing something. But Oneida Lake in New York. A lot of people think I'm crazy for this, but I think that's like the best fishery. I don't know. I don't know. I wouldn't say the best, but it's my favorite. And the reason why I like it so much is because you could go there, like whatever you like to do as a bass fisherman, you can do it. Like if you want to go frogging, you can go frogging. You want to go deep water and try to Carolina rig or drag a jig in deep water for smallmouth, you could do that. You want to go throw a tube. You want to do finesse fishing. You want to fish weed beds. You want to fish shoals. You want to do top water. The top water bite there is amazing. Like going back to the forward facing sonar, you use a pencil popper and scope fish. If you see them suspended, there's a lot of fish cruising around, 3 feet below the surface. I'm tying on a pencil popper, some type of walking bait, like a spook or something, and that's one of the places like year round. Well, from their opening day through the fall, like you can literally do whatever technique it is that you want to do. And it's also a good lake too. If you're new to bass fishing, there's some incredible guides up there that do all different species. But one of the guides said to me, he was like, you can go for any species you want, but you're gonna learn. And that's a really tough thing to say about a lot of the great fisheries. Like Lake Champlain's a phenomenal fishery, but you're kind of like depending on what the smallmouth are doing, you may be a one trick pony. You're gonna see there's tournaments I've seen on Champlain where like 8 of the top 10 guys all did the same exact thing. Whereas you go to Oneida Lake, and the top 10 guys all did something different. So you can go there and learn a technique like, hey, I want to get better at detecting a bite with a jig, or I want to go there and get better crankbait, throwing crankbaits. Because crankbaits, there's actually an art to it. It's not just chucking and winding. You can go there and crank fish and get better at it and learn, like, kind of like, oh, that's what they were doing. Oh, they were staging like this. Oh, they were chasing bait like this, or they were, holding to a drop off, or staying slightly above the rocks, or the rock piles or whatever, or clinging to boulders, whatever. Like, you can figure those things out and learn without, without forward facing sonar, without any type of sonar whatsoever. You just go out there, pick a technique, and go do it and learn to become better at it.
Now, do you do that during the tournaments? Do you pick out what baits you're gonna be throwing per the lake? Or even seasonally, do you change them out seasonally knowing that these fish might be here instead of somewhere else?
Yeah, I mean, we have like on the opens, we have 3 days of official practice. So I'll spend those 3 days trying to like dial in areas and then forage. And then day three is I'll kind of like take everything I learned on day one and two and go back and, try to just pick apart the area and just try to like relearn. Okay, now here's a stump I didn't know was here, or here's a boulder I didn't know was here, and try to really like dissect the areas I'm confident in from the first 2 days of practice. And I already have the bait dialed in. I have the color, I know what the water temp's going to be. Is it stable? Is there a cold front coming in? Whatever the case is, that's pretty much how I'll utilize the practice. In other tournaments, like if there's a one-off tournament, like a one-day derb that I'm going to go fish on Candlewood here at my home lake, I'm not going to practice for it. I'm just going to show up and go fish. And I have kind of have enough history there that I'm going to put five in the box, but I'm not practicing. I'm not taking it serious either, because it's, a local smaller tournament. So I'm just going to have fun more than not. So I think patterning the fish is, you're going to figure out in your first day of practice, and during the tournament you just make tweaks. If you, like I said too, with the confidence aspect of it, a bladed jig, you look at any tournament in North America, any tournament. You walk down the dock and you look at everybody's bass boat, you look at the deck, there's a bladed jig tied on a rod, or two rods, maybe three rods, on every single boat in every tournament. It just catches fish. And it, like, if you have a color, you like green pumpkin, or you like black and blue, or white, it doesn't matter. Like, everybody's throwing a different color, a different weight, different something. It's just get that bait or something like it, and it's gonna work. You're gonna catch fish.
Now, what would be your favorite bait personally?
My favorite.
If you could have one bait to take to any lake in America, and it was the first bait that you threw, and you weren't necessarily looking for the biggest fish, you were just looking for the most fish, what would it be?
Okay, well, it's a trick question, because if it's a smallmouth fishery or a largemouth fishery, I'm gonna have two. So it's gonna be a bladed jig is gonna be tied on 100%, and the other one would be some type of Carolina rig, whether it's a Mojo rig or Carolina rig, some type of craw or lizard or something on the back of that. I think it's gonna be between those two. If I'm going for largemouth, I'm gonna have a blade jig on. I mean, either will work for either species, but I think it really depends on the fishery. If I go to the Potomac River, I'm not chasing smallmouth. Like, that's the last thing I want to catch on the Potomac. I want to catch big largemouth.
Boy, you're coming to Lake Moultrie, 10 miles from our house. What are you throwing?
I'm telling you right now what I'm doing. I'm gonna put the boat in the water. I'm gonna have one rod in my hand, and that's gonna be a bladed jig. And I'm going to, as soon as the boat gets in the water, I'm dropping the trolling motor. I'm gonna start fishing right there by the ramp. I'm not gonna run anywhere. I'm just gonna get a feel, just try to get a vibe. And most likely, I'm gonna get bit. A lot of guys, you never see guys really fish near the ramp, but there's been so many tournaments where I was like, if somebody I'm competing against, their motor went, or something happened, and their boat broke down, and they're already there. They're not going to drop out of the tournament, so they just fish by the ramp and they come in third or second or fourth, or maybe even win. I've seen it happen time and time again. So as soon as I get to Lake, what'd you say, Moultrie?
Yep.
Get to Lake Moultrie, I'm putting the troll motor down and I'm throwing a bladed jig. That's what I'm doing.
What color?
A green pumpkin.
Well, you local guys are in trouble. Troy and I are gonna load the center console up. We're throwing a green pumpkin. We're coming for you. That's awesome. So you didn't used to be a professional angler. You are currently. You started by doing local derbies and then got into it. So it's fair to say that most of your local derbies have been in your Connecticut area.
Yeah.
How much of a challenge is it to go from like, hey, I'm used to fishing all these tournaments in Connecticut. All of a sudden, I find myself thrusted into like Lake O or Lake Murray or all of these other legendary lakes all over America that are in completely different fisheries. How hard of a challenge has that been for you to adapt to those to still maintain competitiveness?
It's definitely challenging. I like I said, if you asked me several years ago, not too long ago, if I'd be doing this, I'd be like, you're crazy. But here I am. So I mean, it's kind of eye opening. I don't know. It's exciting though. I'm loving it. I'm blessed to be in this position, really. But the I think not doing when I kind of like was like, I'm done doing the local tournaments and like because it's like you have the way Bass Nation is structured. You have like Mother Bass, which is Bassmaster. Then you have like all the states, and each state is its own air quotes nation. And then in that nation, you have clubs. So I started at the club level. Like the most entry position you could possibly get into tournament fishing is the club level. And you're fishing with guys who've been doing it for, 20, 30, 40 years. And kind of pick up on a couple things, learn like, okay, I brought too much tackle with me today. Okay, today I didn't bring enough tackle with me. And you fish as a co-angler and you kind of see what it's all about. And I think it's great to have co-anglers, and have that type of opportunity for people that don't have a boat to go and actually go fish from a boat and in a tournament format. And you from doing that, you can qualify for a state team with the nation. At the time I was doing it, they've done away with the state teams over the past couple years. So, but it was like you have the state team. If you qualify for that, you come in like whatever top 10 in your state. You would have actually I screwed up. So you have the club level, then you have like the state level where there's like the Bass Nation Trail for your state, and then from there the top 10 from that goes to the state team. Then the state team goes to like a regional event. Top two guys, top boater, top co-angler go to a national event, and then so forth, so on. You could eventually go pro, and a couple guys from Connecticut have made it pro that way. When I stopped doing the local stuff, I went to FLW, which is now MLF, and they have the BFL series, and that's more of a regional thing. So it was like being able to try my hand at all these new fisheries that I haven't been to. But I have, in the time of doing the club tournaments, like my club was really cool. They did an away tournament. I've fished Cabasacati one year. That's up in Maine. And then we do Lake Champlain, maybe do another fishery out of state for like a little away, like more brotherhood type of atmosphere. Because the club isn't really that competitive. It's just like dock talk and bragging rights, amongst your peers. It's fun. So I already had experience with like some of these other lakes, and when I switched to FLW and it was like, hey, I'm gonna try this regional deal. That's when I was like, I could do this. Like, I was like, all right, I gotta try my hand here. And we at this point in time, I won a ton of tournaments, like a couple years in a row locally, and I'm like, I know I could catch them. I gotta try this, and I did. I had tournaments I did good in. I had tournaments I did terrible in. And it was that learning curve of like trying these new fisheries where I think helped me develop even more of a love for tournament fishing. I love the competitiveness. You see, like I'm kind of in the same boat as somebody that's, might be going to Lake Champlain and they live in North Carolina. We're both in the same boat. It's not our home water. So we're equally, at a disadvantage. But the one thing I didn't like about it is that they didn't really do a true Northeast like kind of schedule, because there are a lot of phenomenal fisheries up here in New England, in New Hampshire, Vermont, Maine, and here in Connecticut. They're not,
Pennsylvania.
yeah, even Pennsylvania too. There's some good fisheries there, and they don't utilize them. They stick with the major fisheries. I don't know why that is. Whatever. But I think going to these different places actually made it worse for me, so to speak, by wanting to pursue a career in fishing. Or in tournament fishing at least. But it's definitely eye opening. The first year doing that, like going to those bigger places that I've never been to before, and now doing it at a national level. Even this year, it's funny because last year I fished uh was it Kerr in North Carolina, and that was a regional championship with MLF. And then when I went to Clarksville this year in a different tour, I already fished Curry. It fished is kind of the same way. And I was kind of like already familiar with the place and I'd never been there. And then in April, we went to the Tom Bigby in Mississippi. And I was like, this place is totally different than the rivers back home, way different than the Potomac, way different than the Connecticut River, but it still felt the same. It still was like a river system, so a lot of the techniques I use here work there. And I think I think the kind of like what you were saying with the or the point you were making with like the question, I so to speak, drawing a blank now, but the going to these places, I think it's kind of worn off.
Yeah, because you probably are going back to the same places year and year and getting better and better. When you initially get a new lake, I know I personally would be on YouTube. Like, what are these guys using? What's working for them? Even if it's 20 years ago, how can I use that same thing? Maybe I can locate some spots on these videos. Is that something that you are necessarily doing, or you're like, hey, I can catch bass anywhere they swim? I got this.
Yeah, that's kind of like I don't want there. Well, there's a couple things with especially switching to Bassmaster. It's there's a no information rule, so I can't get information within a certain time period. I believe it's like 30.
And you guys can't even use YouTube for that, even if you
No,
don't
I think
ask
it
questions?
I think of it as public knowledge, if I'm traveling with buddies and we're like just kicking it, I don't want to be in a position where I even like suggest something like, "Hey, I saw on a you could just do this subconsciously," and then next thing you know, I'm kicked out of a tournament or something. So I don't really want no part of it. I just kind of like want to just go. And I've watched, if I'm watching, we're at the hotel or something, and we're watching an event and we're going to be at that lake the following month and we're watching it together, like so and so caught him was catching them on this and we both saw the same thing. Like I don't have to worry about it. But if I start looking something up and I was like, hey, yeah, I remember reading in this blog post from 2019 that so and so was catching them on a purple tube or something, or whatever the case is. Like, and then he ends up throwing a purple tube and winning the tournament. And it's like, did you get information? It's like, well, it's from 2019, but you didn't read it. You heard it from somebody else during the time period. Like, I don't even want to think about it. I keep my
So
name out
you
of it.
could potentially watch, like, KVD tearing them up on TV 20 years ago or 15 years ago, or Bill Dance fishing Lake O back in the day and be like, "Oh, he's using a Whopper plopper. I gotta get one of those."
Yeah, you could do that. I mean, I just don't want to because here's the thing too is
Such a thin line.
you end up with well that too, but you also just said reconnecting. You don't want to end up with preconceived notions in your head. Even with like the bay coming up, I've been there a bunch of times. I have a ton of top 20s there. I have a tournament I lost by like a pound 3 ounces or something. I could have won. It was like real tight. The top all the guys in the top 20 were real close. I've like dying to bust a win there, and it's I'm kind of like I already have preconceived notions because I've been there so many times and I have all these waypoints. And what if I pull up on every single one of my waypoints and I don't catch nothing? Then it's like, okay, I got to start from scratch. So I just want to go in there like with a clean slate. And I know a couple guys too that I fish against that they just clear all their waypoints after every tournament. Like the next time they go there, they don't want to know nothing unless it's like a hazard or something. They'll keep it, but all their fishing spot waypoints are gone. And I don't do that.
Troy and I just came back from, the Chesapeake Bay this weekend, and the best advice I have to give you is to ditch the bass idea, drive about 100 miles offshore Delaware, and go target tuna. We caught a marlin, mahi-mahi. The fishing is excellent out there. You'll get something a hell of a lot bigger than 8 pounds. That's my advice. Whether you take it or not, you'll be disqualified either way. I don't think they'll let you weigh those kind of fish in there, but if they do,
No,
hey, it'd be awesome.
just bass.
So real quick, sponsorship is huge in this industry. No one can do it alone. It's incredibly expensive. I want to thank Magic Tail Outfitters. They are the makers of the finest fishing rods and lures in the land. I asked him for a bass fishing rod. He said, "Hell no, I don't make freshwater shit." It's exact words. But he did give me this saltwater inshore fishing rod to show during this episode because it's kind of the same thing, in his words. If you guys need fishing gear, MagicTailOutfitters.com, code Deepwater Legends, one word, all capital letters, you get 15% off your order. Fisherman's Headquarters, also a great place to use, fisherman'sheadquarters.com. Use code Going Deep, 10% off your order. Fish Flags USA, they make the finest fish flags in the land. They'll make them with anything you want on there. If you want one with a largemouth bass to drive 80 miles an hour back to the ramp with, you can certainly have it. If you want to shout out some of your sponsors, I know one of the funny things when you first started talking to me, I seen your truck was wrapped in a beautiful wrap, Lion Energy. And I was like, "Oh, man, where can I get a hold of some of these energy drinks so we can drink them during the show?" And you're like, "Believe it or not, everybody asks me that." That's not the case at all. Do you mind giving us some insight into Lion Energy and a couple of the other brands that support you?
Yeah, for sure. Lion Energy, been with them for like a year and a half now. They're my title sponsor company based right here in America in Utah. They're a power company. So they make batteries, generators, solar panels, and full systems like their new sanctuary. You can power your house, power your small business, your factory, whatever the case is, and they make all types of accessories too to like keep your phone powered, your laptop powered. Work it. I started the relationship with them. You know, it's really funny because they have marine batteries and they're not on the radar. They weren't on the radar in the bass fishing world, and looking at the bass fishing world is like super saturated with battery companies. And now with like Amazon, there's 500 different battery companies, you know, you can order on Amazon. But having a Line Energy, the way their system works is they have the same tech that's in their lithium batteries in their solar generators. That's the game changer. And it really is a life changing piece of kit, especially traveling bass fishing. So not only are my Line Energy batteries getting the crap beat out of them day after day on the water, but then I'm charging them with a Line Energy system right from my truck. I don't have to worry about power outlets at the hotel to plug my boat in every night. I just run an extension cord right to the truck. They have us two pieces in the system. One is the Safari, that's like the big brother, and the Summit is the little brother. The Safari is the deal, man. If you guys, anybody at home listening, watching, check it out. Line Energy Safari. We had an issue at the cabin. My boat's plugged in to my truck at the cabin, me and a couple guys up at Lake Champlain. We had a power outage. It's 100 degrees in there. Like, let me go grab the Safari, plug the AC in. We're good to go. Grab the Summit, the little brother. Now we could plug all our phones in and laptops and get the internet going again. It You'll think of stuff like this when you're traveling. You think everything's gonna be cool, and well, I'll be at the hotel anyways, or cabin, or wherever. But you, when something happens, you want to have a backup. And plus, because it's already my piece of kit that I charge the boat with, it's with me. At home, we last fall we lost power here at the house. I never had a backup system or generator. Lived pretty frugal, believe it or not. Safari kept the fridge going for a couple days while they got power restored. It's a great piece of kit to have on the road if you're whether you're a tournament fisherman, you're just traveling, you're camping, whatever the case is. And that's like the deal with sponsorship. I don't know if I just went a whole product placement, but
No problem. And the only reason they named it the Safari is because a flux capacitor was already taken.
pretty, pretty much.
If you see his boat glowing blue, you know he's got that Safari on.
No, right now, we just had a storm pass through. So for the no BS, like right here, it's just called the Trek. My phone is plugged into it right now to do this podcast. Hold on, sorry about that. Line Energy Trek. It's a little
Awesome. Well,
portable.
Lion Energy, we'd love to get you in the offshore world. Reach out to us. We'll have you on the show. We want to get you connected with boats. If you're good enough for Dave, you're good enough for our guys. If he can do 80 miles an hour with your stuff on board, offshore guys can do 40 knots with your stuff on board. No problem. Sounds like excellent stuff. And we're excited to see newcomers to the industry, especially bringing innovation where you're able to charge it from your truck because a lot of guys in the offshore fishing industry are the same thing. Maybe their boat's in storage, but they have a 2-hour commute to the ramp. They're able to charge it up on the way there and so forth. So it's really big game changer. Because in offshore boats, everyone's got Rodans, everybody has Minn Kotas, the same thing as you have 36 volts. And the problem is when you're not using lithium batteries, you have to have so much, and then you have so much weight added to your boat.
Yeah,
And depending on your size boat, it can really be a game changer. On like a 48-foot boat, not really that big of a deal. On 21-foot boat, that extra 100 pounds is a huge deal.
yeah. Well, here's the other thing too. The Safari is charged solar, so you just
That's
take a
awesome.
solar panel out. So, like example, I'm out fishing, like, or I dunk the boat in, whatever. I take a solar panel, stick it on the roof of the truck or whatever, or right to the side of the truck while it's parked. Let the Safari charge, and I get off the water, plug the Safari in. But I we had like three guys at the hotel one week. I think 2 nights, three of us all plugged our boats into my Safari, and we were able to top the boats off 2 nights in a row,
That's incredible.
all three of us. And then I still had enough power to run the coffee maker. Still had enough power to on the ride home. I have sleep apnea. I have a CPAP machine, so I ran my CPAP off it when I pulled over to take a nap at a rest stop.
I have a CPAP too. I can't sleep without that thing. Troy was busting my butt the other day. We're sleeping on a sport fish boat, and I got my CPAP up there like I'm Top Gun, strapping in. He's like, "What are you doing?" It's like I'm getting ready to sleep.
My one of my friends has an offshore boat. We just rigged them up with a Safari and the Safari XP, their expansion pack. He has I don't know the footage of the boat, but he runs like two cats in it, and I guess Caterpillar engines, and the he uh he has an onboard generator, but the Safari is silent. So at nighttime they want to keep the refrigerators and everything going. Now he's got a Safari to power it, and it'll
Oh yeah, and then you
couple
don't
days
have to the diesel when you're sitting there like chunking overnight or drifting. It's
exactly.
blowing back into the cabin, making everybody sick. That's a huge game changer. And especially for like center console boats that the larger center console boats that maybe don't have a generator on board, that's something that can run your lights overnight. It can recharge your batteries, make sure you're able to get that sucker fired up and ready to go in the morning when you're ready to hit it right before gray light.
Yeah, man. You don't want to take risks with running generators and stuff when you got cabins and bedrooms and stuff on those bigger boats. The This stuff is we it's safe, proven. I've beat the crap out of it. It's not the other cool thing too is like their batteries, they're 31 group, but they're in a 24 group footprint. So you're saving space too, and it's
That's incredible. And
yeah,
how can they reach out to Lion Energy and let them know that they heard it from you?
doesn't matter. Just go to linenergy.com. It's click on the link on my website, davemillerfishing.com. I have Line Energy up there. You could reach out to them through there. But yeah, it's just check them out. They're at your local Costco. It's a national brand. They got the goods. They got a lot of other products too. It's stuff that I might not be the best person to talk to. About powering your house or running an off the grid thing for your RV. But they have like for situations like that, they have like a mega battery too that has like a built-in heater for those guys that live up north, like Minnesota and Maine and whatnot, where you're snowmobiling, 7 months of the year. So, but for all those guys, run campers and whatnot, they have like a lot of uh, cool systems for those applications.
Awesome. And then another question I have, I know since Magic Tail Outfitters really just dipping their feet in bass rods, so it's impossible to have the actual best fishing rod in the world. What is the second best fishing rod in the world? What are the rods that you're running? What do you like to use?
So
What do you look for in a good rod? Do you have any preference? Are you running multiple kinds? What's your go-to?
I'm
This one
sponsored.
right here is a medium light. It's got a super fast tip on it. I'm not really an inshore guy. The rod's beautiful. I just got it for the show.
There you go. No, I'm sponsored by Dobbins Rods. I've been with them the entirety of me bass fishing. No joke. Gary Dobbins was a pro angler himself. He developed the rod brand. He never, I guess, I don't want to put words in his mouth, but I guess he never found a rod that he liked. And he was like, screw it, I'm making my own rod. And he worked with a couple other companies, before he got to the point where he made his own brand. And he picked all the parts, picked all the actions for all the different rods in the lineup. And they still have made, more newer rods, over the past couple years as well. He has six lineups that are specifically like pretty much like you could use a rod for to catch anything. One of the rods he makes is a swim bait rod that I actually use for, you know, pier fishing here in Long Island Sound, if I catch stripers on it. So, uh,
We understand, like, we have, like, white marlin rods, deep drop rods, trolling rods, like, rods for amberjacks, but rods for, like, this weight jig, but then a different rod for this weight jig. So when you really get specific into it, we understand the extreme importance of like, hey, I have rods where it's only made for one lure that I throw, but I love to throw it. And I have a rod for a popper that's only a certain weight, and a rod for a jig that's only a certain weight jig that I'm dropping to a certain depth. But if I'm dropping to a deeper depth, I have a different rod for that too. And my wife will complain about that one. Thankfully, she doesn't listen to this show. If you know her, please don't send her this
yeah,
'cause I'm getting more, whether she likes it or not, and I hope you do too. So, when you choose rods, are you running rods that are regularly available to people, or are you having them make, like, custom tweaks to the rod setups that you have?
I plead the fifth. No, I'm kidding. I may have a couple prototypes in the stash. Gary himself might not even know that, but I shout out Gary. But the no, he has like there's six rod models, and then in each one of those models there's several, there's one, the champion series is like the middle of the road model, and they're all at different price points from affordable to, oh my god, my wife's gonna kill me price points. So you got a wide range of types of rods, but like right in the middle, the champion series is what he is really his claim to fame, and was the original rod model. That was the champion and the champion extreme. Those are the first two models they came out with, the good and the better, or the best and the better than that. Um, however you want to say it. But the champion, and in that lineup, the champion 734 is the Swiss Army knife of bass fishing rods. I'm sure there's, other brands out there that make a rod that might be a similar rod or whatever the case is. But when it comes to, you need a rod you can beat the living crap out of and pretty much throw anything that you can catch a bass on, it's that rod. It's like the perfect action, the perfect taper, the perfect tip. It's sensitive. It's not extremely sensitive. He definitely makes rods that are more sensitive, but it's sensitive enough to get the job done. And I've won countless tournaments on it. I've caught tens of thousands of fish on that rod, and I have like four of them. And it's a great moving bait rod. If you throw a lot of moving baits, you're a power fisherman, you're throwing spinner bait, swim jig, bladed jig, Whopper Plopper, as you mentioned, rover or spook, anything, the bigger spooks with the big heavy duty treble hooks on them, those baits, that's a great rod for it. But then you can also slow it down, throw a jig, drag a Carolina rig, um, do in a pinch you could frog fish with it if it's light cover. I wouldn't recommend it for heavy mat, you're pulling in 70 pounds of slop with the fish, but you could throw a frog on it. You could do a lot of things with that rod, and it's really a fantastic rod. And it's not his best rod, it's not the cheapest rod, it's not the most expensive. It's right in the middle lineup out of all the different lineups he has, and it's fantastic. And all that pretty much like in that middle of the road price point. And this and be honest with everybody out there, like you don't need to go out and spend $1,000 on a combo. You do not need to. You do not need to buy the top of the line equipment like for every application. If you have it, good for you. Do knock your socks off, but you don't need it. And I don't want now. I really want to see kids fishing, and kids got to ask mom and dad for money. So mom and dad don't come after me, but that middle price point, that 734 champion, you get your kid one of those for Christmas, he's going to catch a lot of fish. I'm telling you that. They have a great warranty program too. So you're going to have a little bit of peace of mind too. If the dog bites it or gets slammed in a car door or something, they have a good no questions asked warranty replacement programs. Yeah, you don't need to spend a lot of money and have a great rod, and to have that, 250, 200 to 250 price point for a rod is, in this day and age is pretty remarkable.
Yeah, that is the awesome thing about freshwater fishing in comparison to saltwater fishing. A lot of things in saltwater fishing, there's no way around it. You got to spend the money to get the stuff because without it, you're never going to be able to land a fish. But freshwater fishing, you could grab an ugly stick. You can go out there, and for the most part, as long as you're in the right area, you have the right setup, the right baits and line weight, stuff like that, you can get it done. What is your absolute favorite lure? Not necessarily the most catching lure. If you were to pick one lure and catch a fish with it, what would it be?
I have no affiliation with this brand, but River to Sea Bully Wah 2. It's a frog. I love that frog. I have tons of frogs, all different brands. I've caught fish on all of them. But that particular frog, I've won a bunch of tournaments on it. I won the state classic here on it. It's a great bait. I love it. And I don't think like if I want to go fishing, like just for fun, I pray like the conditions are right for me to just have a killer day with that bait and just that one rod on deck all day and the bully watu. It's a fantastic frog and keep it simple. There's only like I have a couple of different colors because I have to make minor adjustments in a tournament setting, but they have a color. Damn, I don't even remember the name of it, but it's like a dark bronzy green type of color on the top, and it's a chartreuse belly. That's the deal. Kids, get yourself one of those, and you're gonna catch them.
And are you boiling them or anything? I see a lot of guys are boiling frogs to like make them softer and stuff.
No, I cut the strands down. Um the legs. I'll definitely cut the legs down and um you don't have to necessarily it actually is a gift and a curse. The I don't know if anybody's just driving and listening, but the hook points kind of come point down towards the frog and kind of towards the center. It's hard to explain. It's basically like two EWG hooks on the
Mhm.
on the frog, and they both kind of like point towards the nose of the frog and then point into the frog. I like to bend to just take a pair of pliers and gently don't over torque it, 'cause then you end up catching a fish and then then the hook breaks. So don't put too much pressure, but just enough, like lightly bend the hooks up just so they're not touching. So if you run your finger across the top of the frog, your finger will catch the hook, and then bend them out just a hair, just so they're kind of straight and they're not pointing inward anymore. That's a modification I definitely do. But the curse of it is if there's like a lot of floating stuff on the water, you're going to catch it all. So every time you reel in, you're going to be taking stuff off your frog. The way it's designed is to be worked weedless and to be thrown into heavy cover. But I think having the hooks slightly out and slightly up, I think my hookup ratio is better. And a lot of people complain about frogs. I know a lot of friends that just refuse to throw one because they just lose them all the time. Maybe it's a confidence thing with me, but when a fish hits a frog, whether it's a bass or pike or whatever the case is that is in the area, because we catch a lot of pike and pickerel up here in the Northeast. Because like if I'm fun fishing, like that was the question, if I'm just going out, I just want to catch fish, not really specific to bass. So if I catch a big tiger muskie, I'm gonna be excited, of the fight on that thing. But I think, damn, I forgot the point I was making. Sorry, I think those little adjustments will definitely improve the hookup ratio, and I'm confident. Like when I hear a boom, I'm getting them in the boat. Like as soon as I set the hook, he's getting the hooks are going in. I'm getting them in the boat. I have no doubt in my mind. I think the couple fish that I didn't get on the hook set, I don't think they had the whole frog. Like I think it was just they caught the leg or something, pulled it down, or there could have been a lily pad that pulled it away from them or something, or the way the line was wrapped around a clump of grass or something. Something else happened. Every fish that has gotten that thing in its mouth, I've got in the boat, and a
I
lot.
know occasionally I'll go bass fishing with a couple of my friends out here, and they always laugh. I'll show up with 3 rods, and I'll have 3 Whopper ploppers on them. It's just something I love to throw. It delivers big fish, not many fish, but big fish, generally, at least for my bass fishing experience. It's a fish per million casts, just something I love to throw as well. Definitely not weedless. Those things gather weeds like you wouldn't believe.
Yeah.
Is that ever a bait that you choose to throw? Like, are you ever in a tournament and you're like, "You know what? It's time for the Whopper."
Yeah, I've thrown it. I actually I think I got a win on a Whopper Plopper, but it was a night tournament throwing a 110, the 110 size.
Have
But
you ever thrown a bait that you were like, "This is definitely not gonna be effective," like the rat or the duck or anything like that, and it ended up actually being effective?
that's a good question.
Or are those mostly gimmicks?
No, I have a buddy, the guys over at, Xander and Cal, the 2 guys that run, tackletoro.net. It's a cool website. They do a lot of tackle reviews and whatnot, and those guys are, like, hardcore into those, like, niche baits, like the rats and the big swim baits and bird imitating baits, and they have a they have a really good section on their site. They go over a lot of those baits, like their enthusiast section, and they work. They catch fish, and those guys out there, and they're out there in California, so they're catching big fish. They're catching double digit largemouth on those, and they eat them. I don't really throw them. My thing is I like to keep things simple. And that's what got me to where I am really is keeping things simple. Like don't overthink it. They're bass. The Senko works. That's the little stick bait, the little 5-inch worm. There's 50 million different imitations of it. It's just a worm. You wouldn't think it would. It doesn't do anything. It just sinks and sits there, and you jiggle your rod tip, bait shimmies a little bit. Bass love them. They eat them. So I don't think there's a bait out there that won't work. There's nothing real gimmicky that I throw per se, but
I seen what looks hot right now is a 30-inch worm. Do you ever anticipate throwing that yourself? I see a lot of people are like wacky rigging it, stuff like that. I seen there's multiple companies making it right now. Companies reaching out, they're like, if anyone wants to throw this and get some fish on it, let me know. Or do you think that that's something that's like way too big of a bait?
for bass was
Yeah, they're making 30-inch worms, and they're wacky rigging them, and they're throwing them out there, and it's been I seen it over the last, like, 5 or 6 days. There's, like, probably 5 or 6 companies that are making these things and really pushing it hard. I've seen multiple videos of people catching with them, and, it looks like it's gonna be a trend that's popping up soon. Some really oversized worm baits. Is that something you would anticipate ever throwing, or you're sticking to something smaller?
there's a bait I throw that's it's a long worm. I think it's like 15 inches, like 12 to 15 inches in that realm. But it's not the whole worm. It's like the worm's like 8 inches and it has like a long tail on it. And I cashed a check on that worm at Cayuga, upstate New York, at one of the Finger Lakes. That 30 inches, that's a long worm. I can't see that. I gotta see it to believe it. I don't.
Yeah, yeah, I
I
mean, they're
throw,
all over the internet. Yeah, maybe it's not the length of the boat, it's the motion of the ocean. Maybe a smaller worm isn't necessarily worse, but, I don't know, size might matter in that case. Who knows? I guess it'll be, until we see someone cash a big check on, like, a 30-inch worm. I imagine casting it would be a pain in the butt unless it's wacky rigged
it's
and you
funny.
got, like, 15 inches on each side, but, other than that, like, if you rig it, like, long ways, you'd almost need, like a kingfish rig, like something with like multiple hooks going down it because if a fish just picks it up from the back, it'd be crazy to like think it's gonna engulf the whole thing.
You know what was funny? There's one of the things I like to throw here in Connecticut, especially when they're on the reefs near like right offshore that you could like wade out to and fish whatnot. It's a sluggo, but it's pretty big. It's
Yeah, they're probably 24 inches or
I can see
20
it's
inches.
I can see stuff like that working for stripers all day and saltwater fish. I can't see it working for bass, especially in the tournament setting. You see some of the tournaments like a hair jig, little like 8th ounce head hair jig. They're tiny, little like black hair jig.
Yeah, or like a little Ned rig or something. It's the
Yeah,
complete
like
opposite side of the spectrum as the
yeah,
30-inch worm.
even like drop shot baits. I can't like there's got to be hundreds, if not thousands, of tournaments that have been won on like a little minnow, like a little 2.5, 3 inch, maybe 4 inch minnow or worm on a drop shot. Like there's whole a segment within bass fishing called BFS, bass finesse fishing, or
Yeah, I mean,
bass
some
fish
men would argue like 2 to 4
finesse.
inches is pretty sizable bait.
Yeah, like I not for nothing. I had a tournament here in Connecticut on Lake Lonona. It was a smaller tournament, probably like 8 years ago, and I had a co-angler on the boat, and he was checking his fish. I was like, "Hey, do me a favor, just check mine, make sure the pump's going." And he was like, "Oh, you got a dead one." I'm like, "No way." So I reel in real quick. I go back to the back of the boat, pop open the live well. I'm like, "Okay, one, two, three. The hell is this?" And I had a dead perch in my live well that was almost as big as the smallest smallmouth I had in my live well. And it wasn't like a tournament where I have five pounders in there. I think, that tournament, like 10 pounds won it. Like it was really tough, so 5 2-pounders. But I had a perch in there that was almost as big as my smallest smallmouth. I'm like, any one of these smallmouth, how the hell did one of these cough this up? Like, there's no way. Like, this was in one of these fish and it got coughed up. So the point is, I can see bigger baits than normal working. Even like the big walking baits, a big spook. I've had little rock bass hit that thing. Like, what are you doing? It's twice the size of you. I do see big baits work, and but 30-inch worm, it's just like, I don't even know how you would set the hook. Like you said, wacky rig it, like, because if they just have it and they have 3/4 of it in their mouth and the hook's on the other end, like you're not going to get them unless they eat the whole
Yeah,
thing.
exactly, unless, like, a multi-hook rig going down at, like, a kingfish bait or something.
And bass fishing, you see the guys, like, you might see us, on TV or YouTube content or whatever the case is, and we smash a hook set as hard as we can. I do not want the bass to swallow the hook. Like, that's the last thing. I want it as soon as I detect the bite, I'm setting the hook. I want to catch them in the cheek or the lip or whatever. I don't want to worry about gut hooking them. 'Cause then you might lose a fish, and we're trying to keep the fish alive. So a bait like that, you'd have to wait and make sure he has it before you even try to set the hook.
And if you could fish any lake ever, what lake would it be? Even if it's not, like, on the tour or anything like that. If it's like, "There's one lake I'm dying to go fish," what would it be?
Lake Havasu. That
Yeah, that'd be
that
an awesome lake.
that place looks so cool. Like, I've never seen a landscape like that. Like, yeah, I don't know. Every video I've seen, like, or YouTube content that from other guys, the guys that live on the West Coast that fish it all the time, it just looks like a really cool place to fish. And it's been a bucket list deal for me. Like, I definitely want to make a trip out there at some point and fish it, because it seems like a lot of the tournaments are Texas East across the board. There are other organizations and stuff that do a lot of tournament trails out on the West Coast and whatnot, but these tours that I've done, so far it's only been east of the Mississippi.
And what's next for Dave Miller Fishing? Like, where do you see yourself in the next year, the next 5 years? What, kind of exciting stuff do you have coming up? Where can people find you? Where can they book your charters and get out on the water with you and learn?
Yeah, hit up davemillerfishing.com. You could book right on the website. I'm not I believe you put me onto like other websites that host guides and whatnot. I didn't
Yeah,
know that.
including ours. If you guys are looking for a charter anywhere, go to our website. We have a bunch of vetted charters from people that we actually know that will get you on the fish. We're not a fishing booker. We're not taking any of these hardworking guides' money. We just love to give back to the people that work so hard. We hate how Fishing Booker takes 30% of these guides' money. They work super hard. They're at the boat early, they're at the boat late, they're cleaning up, they're making sure you're having an excellent day out on the water. The last thing we wanna see is money get taken from their pockets. These guys are the hardest working individuals ever, and we also don't wanna see you book trips with people that, like, hey, you get out there and maybe you get skunked or you get, a small fish or something you're not after. Now, it is fishing, not catching. You can't guarantee fish every trip, but all of the guys that we have on our website are absolute slayers. You have the best opportunity to go out there and have an excellent day with these people. They're safe, they're the best at what they do, and they're going to get you on the fish. So check out deepwaterlegends.com. Check out our awesome guides. Reach out to them, book a trip with them. You won't be sorry. These guys are masters of the craft and will absolutely slay. You can listen to their podcasts. Every one of them has been on our show. We have the link right to the episode. You can listen to exactly what they have to say. They're tournament winning captains. They're people that are professionals, people that absolutely slay the fish and they're going to do it with you on board too. So, what do you have in store for the rest of the year? What kind of tournaments do you have going on? What's your plans for next year? Are there any big developments in your vision or anything?
No, this the next tournament is Chesapeake Bay. Tournament after that, St. Lawrence River, and adamant. I'll have the points to continue on to the final three tournaments with the EQs, and just doing guide trips for the rest of the year. On top of that, I really have cut out like all the excess tournaments. I did just fish the Team Reynolds tournament on Oneida. Reynolds Marine, they're my boat dealer. Got my Phoenix through them and my Merc. They worked with Northern Bass to come up with a cool regional tournament trail. And I always typically do the one they have on Connecticut River, but this year they got rid of the Connecticut River one and moved it to Oneida. And I was like, I'm in. So it was a team derb. And me and my buddy Mike Lawson of Delaware Valley Tackle is a real repair guy and makes custom rods. Shout out him. He fished it with me and we crushed it up there. So that's pretty much it for the one-off tournaments for me. It's just focusing on the Bassmaster Opens and guiding. That's pretty much it.
Awesome. Well, we're hoping to see you hold some big trophies this year to get some big weigh-ins. I'll be keeping my fingers crossed, see you holding up a 10-pounder out there, spraying some champagne. That'll be awesome. And thank you for coming on the show. We really appreciate it. This really gives our fans in areas that don't have access to saltwater something more relevant to what they're looking for. We're still saltwater guys, don't worry. We're still gonna be pushing that saltwater content, but we feel it's important to give back to those people that are listening, and we love to hear from guys like you who are out there killing it, man. Like, I can't go to freshwater and catch a bunch of fish, like, I'm terrible at it. Like it's a completely different sport. I can cast a rod as good as the rest of them under docks, around structure, stuff like that. I can't catch them to save my life. But it is so awesome to see guys like you going out there, especially the lakes you may have never been to, and just killing it, putting together bags that like I couldn't imagine getting on my home lake. And you guys are doing it in a lake you're there for the first time. It's just incredible. I know it's every young man's dream for the most part. You see that beautiful truck driving, pulling a bass boat, all stickered up with vinyl wraps and stuff. You're living that life. It's just incredible to see, and I think it's you have the best origin story you could ask for. You were a regular guy doing regular guy stuff who just loved fishing, and then your late 30s made it happen. You were like 5 years ago, I would have never guessed I'd be doing this. So it really gives hope to these young kids, and it really gives hope to these regular guys. Like maybe you're an electrician or you're a plumber or like you're doing something else right now. Get out there and practice because anybody can make it happen. You just have to practice and really put the time and effort into it and really want to make it happen and go hit those local tournaments like Dave was saying and really prove yourself and hone in on the sport. Really go after it. And it's such an incredible thing to hear from a guy that like went from, hey, I was fishing on the coast for striped bass and like I just decided one day, like, I'm gonna do this bass stuff. Do you have any words of encouragement to give out to like kids or maybe adult kids like ourselves that are like, "Hey, we wanna make this happen."
Yeah, you know what? If you want to do something, just do it. Like as cliche as that may sound,
I think that one's taken.
yeah, but it's funny. I've had talk to people all over the place, and you always hear like I hear stories like people will come up to me or something and be like, "Hey, I want to do this. I want to learn how to do this." There is no like the word "want" removed from your vocabulary and make it
You
happen.
wanna be about it, you gotta be about it.
You can't like if you want to buy a car, like you don't think about it. You're like, hey, I need to buy a car. You go to the store, you test drive a couple cars, you buy one, or whether it's used, new, whatever the case is. You need a car to get back and forth to work. You need a car to load up with kids and toys and stuff. You need to do that. Like you're going to buy a car. You don't think about it. You just get it done. That's how anything you do in your life, whether it's fishing, bass fishing, you want to do tournaments, you want to do the offshore stuff you guys do, crushing it with the catching the big tuna and everything. Just go out there and do it, make it happen, go experience it. And there's so much opportunity out here to do that and find a path. It's whether or not, like me, it's, whether or not I could skunk a couple tournaments and boom, my season goes to crap, and it can happen to anybody, but it's about being persistent and don't give up. Like you can't like look at look at all like athletes, that are in the position they're in. They didn't give up. They wake up every morning, go to practice, and I do the same thing. I wake up in the morning and go practice. People ask, how can you practice fishing? Dude, you got to go catch some fish to see how you're going to catch them in the tournament. Can't just go on a whim.
And I'm sure you're like us where the fishing never stops. We may not be on the water, but we're researching the water. We're researching how to use our electronics better. We're researching baits, stuff that's new to the market, catch reports, what people are catching on, how they're catching them, what the water temperatures are, the currents are, the plankton concentrations. All of this stuff is going to make us be able to make a better is planned or not planned. Like I'm not going out this weekend. I'm still aware of, like, what our local waters are doing. I'm still aware of, like, what the temperature breaks are like, what the conditions are like, what people are catching where, because I may go out sooner than later. It may be an unexpected trip. We may get a weather break or something like that, and we're able to shoot out there, and I wanna be ready for it. And I'm sure you're the same exact way where it's like, "Hey, I may not be fishing Saturday, but, like, I'm still gonna know exactly, like, what the barometric pressure is and what the fish are doing this time of year in that water." And then when the conditions arise that they're perfect, you're ready to go out there and get them. Which I'm sure conditions aren't as big of a deal for you guys as they are for us, but I'm sure it still plays a major factor in fish behavior.
Yeah. No, it definitely does. Like, yeah, another thing that, the guys I have been doing a little bit of research, and, somebody brought something up to me regarding moon phases, and I started dabbling in that whole, subgenre of bass fishing, of following that and, trying to get acquainted, but there's all these nuances and people don't think about, like, the water temp, the cold fronts, the forage, like, when you think they're gonna be on bait, and they're not, they're on crayfish, and let's see, the tide.
I could do a whole episode on moon phases alone for fishing. For offshore fishing, it plays a huge factor because the extra light at night during like a full moon means the fish are feeding at night or they're feeding earlier. And with certain types of fish, they only eat once a day or they only eat twice a day. So, like wahoo, for instance, if it's a full moon, they're going to be feeding early. So you got to be out there 2 hours before daylight because as soon as they eat, they're not eating a second time, at least until the afternoon. You'll never catch a wahoo with a full stomach. And stuff like that plays a major factor. So, like, if you're riding out there and there's no moon or barely a sliver, it's like, okay, I can sleep an extra hour. I can get out there an hour before daylight. I can hammer them by 9 a.m. But it's a full moon. You better have your fish in the boat by 7 or you're likely not to have.
Yeah. No, one of the things I saw, the guy was saying, like, if you catch a fish, look up, see where the moon is. If you go back there another day and the moon's in a different place, you're not going to catch fish in that spot. I was like, this guy's crazy because I've caught the same fish in the same spot, like from the same school, multiple days in a row. But I timed it right with the tide. A couple weeks ago, I was messing around. I look up, see the moon's like, all right, it's got to be over there. I go fish, catch a couple fish. Okay, so I know like this time of feeding, early morning, whatever. So I go back the next day, different time, moon's not there, and don't get bit. Like, all right, there might be something to this. Like, where it's like different, not necessarily the phase of the moon or whatever the case is, but something where it's located in the sky. And this is freshwater on a lake. I don't know. Like I said, I'm just getting my feet wet.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, maybe there's some merit to it. Maybe there isn't. Even a broken clock is right twice a day. But I think moon phases definitely play a factor into it, especially when it comes to visibility of bait in those early hours, in the middle of the night, stuff like that. As far as freshwater fishing and its effects, I'm not sure. I would have to dig into it as well, but I know offshore it's definitely a factor. I want to thank you for coming on our show. We really appreciate you coming on here and talking to some saltwater guys and our fans about freshwater fishing. We love having you on here, and we'd love to have you on again, especially holding a big trophy and a check this year. Hopefully, that you're cashing in the next tournament or two. We'll
Yeah,
be
man.
cheering for you. This is Dave Miller. You can reach out to him at davemillerfishing.com. He does charters out of the Connecticut area. This guy is a professional angler on the BASS tour, an excellent fisherman. We're happy to have you on here and be friends with you, and can't wait to see where you're going, what's in store for you, and cheer you on as it goes. Are the next episodes televised?
Day three of It's you can check it out at bassmaster.com. It'll be the Bassmaster Open on Chesapeake Bay. Day three is you can live stream it on Bass's website, and I believe it's on FS1. It's just only day three for the next two tournaments. It's only day three is televised, but you can stream them. Top 10 guys will have a cameraman on the boat, and hopefully I'm one of them. So
Awesome. We'll be cheering you on. Hopefully you are. Shoot me a text. I would love to watch it, and we'll screenshot some videos and stuff and post it up here for our listeners. Uh, we hope to see you do some great stuff, man. I can't wait to see what's in store for you. I love your story. It's similar to mine. Started out as a regular guy, got into this later in life, ended up loving it, and couldn't see an avenue outside of it. And I know there's so many other people out there the same way as that, and it really gives the regular guy hope. You're at work, you're like, "Man, this like doing carpentry or plumbing really sucks. Like I want to be out there on the ocean." You can make it happen. Only you can. Live the life, be about the life, go out there and chase it. Get after it, study it relentlessly, be the best you can be, and you can make it happen too. So once again, you can book his charters, davemillerfishing.com. You can go to deepwaterlegends.com. We will have a direct link to him. We don't charge any kind of fee or anything for booking through our website. It's just a link right to his. We love supporting our guests and our charter captains and our anglers. And check out his website, davemillerfishing.com. He's got a bunch of great sponsors, a bunch of awesome information. Lion Energy sounds like they make some terrific products. We'll be checking them out heavily just in case we lose power down here in the Carolinas during hurricane season. And also for our trips, sounds excellent to have some extra power backups for it. Thank you for coming on the show. We really appreciate it.
yeah,
And
man.
if you have anything to say to the listeners, go for it.
Take a kid fishing. Take your kids fishing. Get them out there on the water, off the tablets, off the video games. I love video games. I still play video games to this day. Have some on my iPhone, PlayStation, whatever. But got to get outdoors. Like, I think it's imperative for parents to get their kids out there, even if it's not fishing. Maybe you're not into fishing. Maybe you're into hunting or something like that. Or just get outdoors and enjoy it. While we have it. It's a beautiful world, man. You gotta get out there and experience it. And it's just I wish I could take everybody fishing. I can't. I'm one man, but and I strongly urge guys who charter, to encourage people, like you get a group people coming, and the boat's not full up, and this is for whether you're freshwater or saltwater, whatever the case is, but encourage your clients to bring their kids too. I think that's a big thing. I know a lot of people might shy from it, be like, well, it's kind of like my one day off. And I know it. I know the deal. I'm a blue collar guy myself. You want to have your escape. But if you got kids, get them out there on the water, man. That's all I can say. I have two beautiful daughters, blessed to have them. I can't wait till one's 4, one's 1, so it's they're babies. But my 4-year-old got a PB though. She got a 2.8 smallie, so she's on her way up. So I'm happy about that. She seems to enjoy going out on the boat, catching fish, and whether they're big or small, she just likes being out there, and I think that's a great thing. I think people need to take that in consideration to strongly encourage it.
Oh, yeah, it's super important to get your kids fishing. If you're ever down here in the South Carolina area, hit us up. We'd love to come out and film you. Love to get you out in the saltwater. We could probably get you a PB. If for the most part all you caught is stripers, it's guaranteed we get you a PB out here. I get you on something crazy. You can even bring your bass rod if you want. See what it does against like an amberjack or something. But thank you for coming on the show. We really appreciate it. Thank you to the listeners and subscribers. We really appreciate you guys. We're in like 20 countries right now. We're in almost every state. You guys are awesome. If you haven't subscribed yet, please subscribe. We have countless awesome guests coming up, just like Dave, that are all over the industry, whether it's saltwater or freshwater. We have boat manufacturers, gear manufacturers, all kinds of stuff. We plan to touch every corner of this industry to bring you relevant information on everything that we can. And we really appreciate you guys. And I hope you have a great night.
Thanks, guys.